Some breaking news tonight in California, where Governor Gavin Newsom has now announced some severe new mandatory lockdowns that will impact the majority of residents in his state beginning this week. If the capacity of local hospitals' intensive care units falls below 15%, he will initiate new stay-at-home orders, and those will stay in effect for up to 3 weeks. So far, it looks like the intensive care units in 4 of the state's 5 regions will fall into that category. That means the majority of California is looking at a lockdown for the next 3 weeks. Newsom also says that they plan to implement more strict rules on community gatherings and in-person shopping as well. And they will also limit restaurants and takeout delivery only. So some big changes afoot in California tonight. So Kentucky's Attorney General and a private Christian school filed an emergency request with the Supreme Court, trying to overturn an order from Kentucky's governor that shut down all in-person learning at K through 12 schools in the states at the end of November, including private religious schools due to COVID-19. Kentucky's AG writing this: in Kentucky, one can work out at the gym, attend a wedding, send his or her child to daycare or preschool. College students can attend classes, but all of Kentucky's religious schools are shuttered. Now, Justice Brett Kavanaugh is asking Kentucky's governor, Democrat Andy Beshear, to respond to the high court by 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So far, the governor's attorneys insist that his executive order does not infringe on religious freedoms.
The governor is determined to take decisive steps to stop our increasing curve of COVID-19. We now have 117 counties in the red zone.
Here now, Kentucky's Republican Attorney General Daniel Cameron. General Cameron, thank you very much for being here. So explain to everybody what the legal argument is here, why these Christian schools are treated differently than other private organizations across the state.
Well, look, Martha, I think the question is pretty simple. It's the one that we put forth in front of the Supreme Court, which is, can a governor use his executive powers to infringe upon the First Amendment rights that we all hold so dear, in particular here, the free exercise of religion? I know parents all across the Commonwealth who, in exercising their right to free religion here in the Commonwealth, are sending their children to private Christian schools. And the governor has infringed upon that right. It's the question that we've raised with the United States Supreme Court, and I'm optimistic about what we'll hear from them in light of the diocese case that came out in New York last week.
So what does he say about why he singled out these private institutions when he allowed other private institutions to continue to be open? What's his argument for that?
It doesn't make much sense to me. You've heard Dr. Fauci this past weekend, and the CDC even put forth language suggesting that it's important to have our kids in school, that it's not the super spreader that a lot had feared. Dr. Fauci talked about the importance of the developmental aspects of being back in school. We wholeheartedly agree with that. Again, I know parents all across the Commonwealth send their children to religiously affiliated schools, not only so that they can learn reading, writing, and arithmetic, but also so that they can learn about the values of faith that are intertwined with the curriculum.
I mean, we've seen a big resurgence in religious schools that are private, independent schools because their public school is closed, and those who've been able to find the ability to transfer their kids into those schools has really built a resurgence in a lot of those schools. But it's very interesting to me that the Kentucky governor, Andy Beshear, said, while we all want to get our kids back to in-person instruction, the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit recognized that doing so now would endanger the health and lives of Kentucky children, educators, and families, which is absolutely the opposite of what we have seen in 2 very significant medical studies from JAMA and also from the Lancet, and which we've also heard now backed up by Dr. Anthony Fauci and many others. So how would that argument hold water when there's not the evidence to support it in a court of law?
Well, it doesn't hold water, Martha. The fact of the matter is that Danville Christian, one of the lead plaintiffs in this case, has spent nearly $30,000 to make sure that they are doing things consistent with the CDC, taking the proper precautions to keep their students safe. Another school here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Lexington Christian, has spent nearly $400,000, again, implementing safety procedures to keep people safe. And That's exactly right.
It's incredible. So this could be something that comes before the Supreme Court. Justice Amy Coney Barrett would obviously be part of that decision. They have ruled in favor of religious institutions in New York and New Jersey. What do you think would happen if it goes to the Supreme Court?
Well, look, we filed our application with the Supreme Court this past Monday. We are very optimistic. You mentioned the diocese case out of New York. The court has time and time again stood up for religious freedom. That's all this case is about, is the ability for parents to send their kids to religiously affiliated schools. This is an exercise of the First Amendment right that Kentuckians hold so dear. As the Attorney General here in Kentucky, I've got the responsibility to stand up for the liberties that we all hold so dear.
Sir, before I let you go, I want to ask you about this because obviously you were involved with the Breonna Taylor case as the Attorney General of Kentucky. The mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, where that happened, Greg Fisher, now says this: our systems are more than broken. They must be dismantled and replaced. That's why I'm announcing today that I'm signing an executive order declaring racism a public health crisis in Louisville. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I know the mayor, and I recognize that he's put forth that declaration. But I want to get past talk in our respective communities and make sure that we are finding justice. We had a pretty significant case. It's important for the Attorney General to make sure that we're marrying the law with the facts. That's what I think most folks expect out of their prosecutors. That's what we tried to do in that case. I have complete confidence in our justice system. Obviously, there are always challenges, and we have to build a more perfect union. And I look forward to being a part of any productive conversation about some of the challenges that we have here in the country.
Attorney General Daniel Cameron of Kentucky, thank you, sir. Good to have you here tonight.
Thank you, Martha.